employees must highlight the difference in pay between men and women, the gender pay gap. Because if we highlight it, we can all work to close it. So whether you work in boardrooms, showrooms, front rooms, stock rooms, or not in rooms at all, if you have 50 or more staff, you must report it by November 30th. Let's all highlight the difference to make a difference. Visit gov.ie/gender pay gap to learn more.
Are you looking for a full health test without a GP's referral? With Randox Health, it's easy. Get a full health test with no GP referral. All you need is 10 minutes at a time convenient to you. Starting at only €36, we're here for you in Sandyford and inside Holland and Barrett on Henry Street. Use code HEALTHY10 at booking for 10% off. That's code HEALTHY10. Randox Health. Fast, affordable, reliable.
Heineken, bringing you in-depth analysis this Saturday. Win tickets to unmissable Investec Champions Cup games just by grabbing a pint of Heineken in over 200 pubs nationwide. Visit Heineken Ireland's Instagram to find your nearest participating pub. Over 18s only, drink responsibly, get the facts, be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Yeah, you're very welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on Newstalk. Shane Hannon with you through until 5pm. Loads to come. Between now and then, we'll have football Saturday between 3 and 5. Johnny Ward, Owen Doyle and Graeme Gartland in studio discussing, well, the return of the Premier League this weekend. And of course, we'll look back once more on the Republic of Ireland's heroics last weekend. Troy Parrott's heroics last weekend against Portugal, and then Hungary, of course, in Budapest last Sunday. But of course, the big one this afternoon is in the rugby. 5:40pm kickoff at Lansdowne Road for Ireland versus South Africa in the final autumn international for Andy Farrell's Ireland side. Delighted to have in studio to look ahead to this one the former Leinster, Ireland and Lions hooker Shane Byrne and the rugby analyst Brent Pope. Shane and Brent, good afternoon. How are things?
Hey Shane.
Very good, thanks.
All right.
Thanks for coming in.
No worries.
Yep, warm conditions.
Absolutely, yeah. We're trying to get us all ready for the match this evening. Get the heart rate up a little bit.
Yeah.
Get us acclimatised. But there's a lot of Springboks around the city already,
Incredible,
lads, isn't it? It's amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
I suppose, this is their, the Ireland rivalry has become the main rivalry for South Africa in recent years. And so, if you're going to pick a game to go to, this is probably it. And there's
And they enjoy
tens
the
of
crack and
there's thousands of them over in London.
Yeah.
So it's a short hop over,
Yeah.
So,
I know heaps of them, guys that I would have played with years ago coming over from South Africa, in groups of mostly men just to enjoy the kind of weekend, and that's the way it should be. But good supporters, they love the game. As you say, you put any comments up on social media these days, unless they like them, you're going to get hit with a flood of South African supporters all around the world. But, justifiably so, the world's best team by a bit. And, we'll just have to see how today goes.
Is it a friendly rivalry, Shane? Because, and has it changed much since your playing days? Because you think back to playing South Africans and there always was that friendliness. But maybe in recent years, Rassie Erasmus has kind of stoked the fires a little bit. And sometimes you see quotes from South African players and Ireland players as well that really lean into the whole rivalry.
That's what you want. You know what I mean? And that's what Rassie thrives on as well. The causing the little bit of controversy. And you remember Estebeth talking about the guys coming up and seeing the final of the World Cup, all little things like that, and it's, that's all part of it. But it's also a sign that, we've got up to that level. You know what I mean? Yeah. There was an awful long time when, say, our rivalry with New Zealand, which this has obviously surpassed it, that the New Zealanders were still just dismissing it. You know what I mean? Don't be ridiculous. That was the way they were thinking of it. Whereas now that these discussions are going on and this bit of banter and the to and fro, that's because, we're up there. We're of that level.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know. I see it 90. I still think that rivalry between South Africans and New Zealand's probably is slightly more than just over the history, and also the fact that until Ireland win a World Cup,
or get to a semi-final.
Yes, they can't be regarded as a great team. I mean, New Zealand and Australia and whatever won it a few times, so that's where the rivalry was born from. Also, the fact is back in the apartheid days or whatever, when the Springboks wanted to tour New Zealand. New Zealand wanted to tour South Africa because they were hard. It was hard to go to a tour in those days and win in South Africa. That's become a little bit easier over the years. But I agree with Shane in the respect that, South Africans, you've got to gain their respect. And my God, have Ireland gained their respect since the World Cup and the win over there last year. So that's where the rivalry comes from now, because Rassie obviously wants to win this match because he hasn't coached a team to win in Ireland where he coached himself. So this will be a big day for him, and I'm sure he's got the players all geared up for this game in particular. And I think they're better placed this year than ever before coming to Ireland. I think their game has evolved. We'll talk about that a bit under Tony Brown especially. But I was called down to the Shelbourne, not to the Shelbourne, to the Radisson where they were staying because my elephant made the back pages today. I have a mental health elephant. With the guy sitting
Brilliant
on top
photo,
of it.
actually,
They shouldn't have been sitting on top of it. Might have broken. But I got a feeling down there seeing the guys that they were really up for this match.
Right.
Albeit having their photographs when it was freezing cold.
But I would honestly say that I think, as much as Ireland could, the fixtures have gone exactly the way they have. If the South Africa was earlier, I think both teams are as good right now
I agree
as they can possibly be. I really think this is going to be an absolute belter of a game, because the one way that Ireland, frustrate South Africa is that there's no back down. There's no, you just get guys standing up and standing toe to toe. As it always is, you have to do that. That's how you gain respect from the South Africans, because they know if you've beaten, you've had to do that. And Ireland have done it more often than the opposite way around. And I just think that this game is going to be an absolute belter, because right now, both sides are as good as they can possibly be. So it's just who clicks on the day.
Well, you've got to go back to the World Cup, because South Africa went there wanting to win the World Cup, as every team did. And, that was probably, given their record at the World Cup and Ireland's record at the World Cup, Ireland still probably went in there 50-50 for that match. Well, they were the only team that beat South Africa along the journey. So that'll stick in the South Africans' minds. So hold on a minute. It could have gone the other way too. They could have not made it through. They had, 3 victories by a point.
Yeah.
It could have been Ireland at one stage. I mean, we all thought it was going to be an Ireland-France. That would have been the dream final. But that, of course, come unstuck earlier. But I think Shane is right. I think that Ireland got those kind of, I didn't expect them to perform in Chicago because I thought they would be underdone. Even hangover from the Lions tours and players coming back together. That bad performance by Leinster against Munster where they didn't seem right. And that just was the hangover to Chicago. Played more or less, you'd have to say, a lot of the B players against Japan, so that was understandable, albeit it wasn't a convincing performance. And I just think in the last 40 minutes against Australia, first half wasn't great.
Yeah.
Second half, they started to show a few green shoots of how they want to play. And I think the talking point is the selections about the out half. But I think people need to know that this has now become a 23-man game rather than the 15-man game. We're now looking at teams to what they can bring off the bench. We go back to Shane and ours day. Here's a bit of trivia for you, because Warren Gatland never got an international cap because he sat on the bench for Sean Fitzpatrick for over 50 times. Shane was the same with Keith Wood. And people don't realise that now. Players are selected now for the impact they can bring off the bench. Look at Khaleesi, probably the best captain in our generation of a rugby side, the most influential captain. He only plays 40 minutes an hour, 45 minutes. So when people talk about Prendergast versus Crowley, they've got to look at it a way that they sense that, whatever way Andy Farrell wants to play this game, that's the out half he selects. It's not totally due to form. He might be looking the same, look, we'll give Sam a go, see how he goes in the attacking side of play, and if we have to bring Crowley on at some stage, then we do that. The opposite could apply. Start with Crowley, bring Prendergast on. So you get all these people out there in the public saying, it's a disgrace. And some players don't want to start matches now.
Yeah.
They don't, because they don't finish the match. I would want to be one of those players that would come on and influence the game and maybe stand out. You even see now when they're celebrating a win, say they get a last-minute win, it's often the guys that have come off the bench that get to do all the...
Clutch moment.
The other guys are coming off the bench that may have given 60 minutes with still in their jackets or whatever and unzipped them to join the celebrations, because the moment of euphoria is at that moment.
I'd say Crowley definitely would have preferred to start it, but I think Crowley was selected correctly for the New Zealand and Japan game because he was playing better for the province. That's it. That Munster-Leinster game just sealed it. There was no debate at all. And then Prendergast came on the second half in the Japan game, and the game kind of opened up. Now, he could have been lucky because the game probably was going to open up anyway.
Yeah.
But it just seemed to flow better. And look, he had a good game against Australia. There's no doubt about that. And he ran things, he spotted opportunities, and he did what he does well. And the But the only flaw, obviously, the biggest debate which added to because of this game is his defence. He's still. I don't understand how they didn't have him strapped to a tackling bag and a bench, and then probably a bench press and force feeding the McDonald's to put some pounds on him during the summer. But the that is, there's no doubt about a flaw. You'll see him defending on the wing a lot in this game. I'd say off set phase and things like that. But South Africa are smart.
Yeah.
They will find ways of isolating him. And you saw it in Australia in that try they scored just to the right of the posts. They isolated him and ran over him. And unfortunately, look, that is an issue. There is no doubt about it. And his team have to protect him. Look at David Wallace protected Ronan O'Gara all his career. And so it can be done. It is something that can be done. And it's something that hopefully the kid will become better at it as he goes on. Johnny Sexton wasn't wildly physical at the start. He got into it then. And so I think the selection is correct, I think, for the way, because this game, for us to win this game, we have to storm into a lead. We have to get out in front.
Absolutely.
And then just draw the line.
Hang on. Hang on and manage. And I think Shane's exactly right. And I think that's the way that Andy Fowler's looked at it. He said, look, okay, we've got to start well. We've got to, you've got to attack the course, as golfing speak. You've got to go after the South Africans. There's no good just sitting back and waiting for them to play, because they'll beat you. So if he can go out and start the attack game, then Prendergast is the better player for bringing the outside backs into the game. He's a better passer. You're right, he's not as good a defender as Crowley. He doesn't have the experience of Crowley that he has, but he's a good way, he's amazing skill set for a young guy. His passing game, his kicking game is good. He probably bows to Crowley in the sense of, can he move the team around under pressure as well as Crowley, because he's used to Leinster going forward, so he's not used to having a lot of back ball to play with, so he's good coming onto the ball. How does he operate when Ireland under a bit of pressure? We've yet to see that, and Shane is right. If I was Rassie Erasmus, I'd be getting Visa and all these guys to run down that channel as much as they can. Having said that, with Van der Fleer and Doris on board and Beard, he can be protected. And like Shane said, Johnny Sexton wasn't the all singing, dancing out half when he started. And they've got great similarities in the way they play, even the way they look.
Yeah.
Both tall guys, both guys that are good on the loop and good at their passing and kicking game. But every player has work-ons. Every player has something to work on. And that's just... He's just got to get his defence a little bit better. It doesn't have to be crazy good. It just has to be able to make the tackles at crucial times.
And if the game plan goes exactly right, and using your logic that you said earlier, you'd be better off with Crowley at the end. Coming off the bench.
To manage the game.
If the game plan has gone well, if we're defending a lead.
You're right.
Yeah, true.
It'd be better having Crowley there for the last 25 odd minutes.
Maybe that's the thinking, yeah.
Maybe
Well,
that is.
I think that will be the thinking. But the differences between Rassie is that if it doesn't go that way, Andy's got to be prepared to haul someone off.
Yes.
Rassie doesn't have a problem. Give somebody a cap for 10 minutes or something. If it's not working out, they're off the park. The props last time.
Yeah, he waits. If a box isn't being ticked, gone. Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
He's ruthless.
It's funny because Andy Farrell was clearly a little bit irked during the week when
He was.
the question was asked the second time. Naturally so.
It's
It comes
always
up all
asked.
the time, doesn't it? But even Brian Driscoll made the point on the show during the week that was it against James O'Connor at one point, Prendergast makes a lovely tackle in the Australia game.
spills the ball.
It's like he can do it.
He can.
Yeah.
But it's just the consistency and
But then he'll
as you
miss
said,
one.
bulking up.
But that's just confidence. That'll come as he grows up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
man.
That'll come, and then he'll start realizing, I can make these hits and I'll be fine. You know what I mean? Because that's what it is like, and it's just as he gets a bit heavier, gets a bit harder. I suspect he'll be perfectly fine, and this will be something that will just no longer be a debate.
But I tell you what, looking to the next World Cup, and I know we get carried away with all that speak, but you've got two quality out halves, or you've got possibly three if you look at young Harry Byrne or whatever. Other countries would love that.
Yeah.
New Zealand can't find mixing between Barrett and these guys, and Barrett will be 35 at the next World Cup. France, Intermac, I see in the papers today, is getting a lot of stick. England have maybe one forward. They don't know the other one. That's Marcus Smith. So Ireland are ahead of the game as far as out halves. unfortunately, today they come up against a country that probably has got it right with their out halves now, in the sense of looking for the
Well,
World
he's a
Cup.
hell of a find.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
He's
yeah.
a
Like
fantastic
the
player.
fact that like we talk about our machine, and like the unbelievable limited resources that we have, player numbers, like the stats are ridiculous. Like how small of numbers that we're able to do it, but it's because of the machine that we have producing the talent. South Africa have the same thing.
Yeah.
It's not a complete repeat of what we have, but their machine is churning out these incredible players, and once they get into that squad structure that Razzie has put together, it's really impressive.
Yeah.
He could rotate 50% of that team, and you would still go, yeah, it's not really
It's funny,
too
isn't
affected.
it?
Yeah.
It's funny, isn't it, Shane? Because their ERC teams, the club level, aren't producing the goods. It seems to be when they come into Rassie's, under Rassie's kind of umbrella, they go up a notch. And, because you could look at Leinster, the performance of Leinster and Munster and Ulster and Connacht over the years, they've all had sort of their moments in the sun. But South African teams are usually limited to one or two teams provincially, and yet they have a conveyor belt.
I'd agree with that to a degree until they get to knockout.
That's what I mean, yeah I suppose, yeah.
Once whichever teams, manage to get to knockouts, it's a completely different mentality. Yeah. Like if you played them halfway through the season and you play them again in a quarterfinal or whatever, they're a completely different team.
You look at the Sharks at the moment.
Everything is seemed to be built just to hit form at the right time. They don't seem to panic at all. They just get it right. And sure, look, we've seen that in World Cups.
Yeah.
Even World Cups in particular. But
Sure, even as you say, lads, the win over France, so impressive. South Africa, with a man down as well.
Well, a man down in both of the games, and the fact is, you can put a whole new side and still beat an Italian side that were really coming off a tremendous victory against Australia. And just to grind it out, I thought they were going to lose that match. I thought that if Italy had taken their chances a bit better in the first, but South Africa just grind you down with their physicality. They go back. And it's right, that's what everybody's saying in the papers, aren't they? That South Africa are finally, and I'd say that because they didn't play that way in the last World Cups, they're finally a way to play it always, in all conditions. Now, Tony Brown has a lot to do with that. I know Tony personally from Otago days, and he's a great thinker of the game, but he's brought another dimension, because I see where Ireland will lose this match. If they lose this match today, I don't think they'll lose it up front, because I think if you were picking a combined side, you would have as many Irish in that side as you would have South Africans. Right. I think the difference is in the back line. No, but if you were selecting a combined side...
I'm just thinking about it. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah.
Sheehan v. Marks, well, it could go 50-50.
Yeah.
You'd have Tyg Byrne in there. You would have Porter in there today. You would have Doris in there. It's the collective of South Africa. It's not the individual.
Yeah.
But I think the game will be won and lost, I think, in the back line and the back play. And the aerial game, I think that Ireland will stand up to the physicality, especially in the first half. And I think what they do after that in the back line will determine, I think, whether they win this game or not.
I have a question to ask. This is your job, Shane, but
fire away, please.
Why do you think Henshaw wasn't involved in the 23? I thought he played
They
well
said,
enough.
He picked up an injury, didn't
There
he?
seems to be
Was that
suggestions.
definitely?
It wasn't confirmed by the IRFU, but it seemed to be suggestions that there was a knock. But
Had a bit tight muscle, one of these.
Yeah, I just thought, like in particular him, because he had looked tired in the two games, and I thought against Australia he was actually really good. He was back again.
And he's a great serve.
To put himself really, like if it was himself, and Ringrose again, you'd be perfectly happy with it.
Yep.
And then not to be in the 23 is like, all right.
I know, huge chance for Tom Farrell if he gets.
Oh, it's incredible for him. Fair play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This has been a fairy tale for him.
Yeah.
These November internationals, but that was one I was a bit. Now, if the rumours are coming out that there's
no,
some
they
sort
just
of
said. I just
tweet,
listened to the press conference, and they said he had the old one, the tight muscle. Well, I don't know what that means.
Whatever.
I think no, he would have made it. I think you would have to say that Robbie Henshaw, at least off the bench even, and also the fact that Bundy and Gary haven't played as much rugby as Robbie and Gary have. And no, I think he will be a bit of a loss.
Yeah,
big, strong, physical man, 6'4", 105 or 6 kgs.
Always gives his best. Yeah,
that's what you always gives his best.
Yeah.
Such an underrated player for years, Robbie Henshaw.
Yeah, agreed.
Never puts his name up there for any accolades. I think just does the dirty work. Is a nice guy on the field and off the field.
Yeah.
You know, and has been a great servant, as I said, to Irish Rugby. And sometimes people just, oh, yeah, Robbie, Robbie this. But he always bounces back.
Yeah.
Always bounces back.
Yeah.
What a player.
You know, I'd like to see him there.
Absolutely. We'll take a break for the 2 o'clock news here, lads. Still loads to get into with both teams and predictions and all the rest ahead of this game, Ireland versus South Africa. 5:40 p.m. is the kickoff time at Lansdowne Road later on this evening. We have Shane Byrne and Brent Pope in studio. Any questions for the lads? WhatsApp them into us, 0879 180 180 or 087 1400 106. Well, on the air until 5 o'clock here on Off the Ball Saturday on Newstalk. Back with more preview next.
The Saturday panel. On Off the Ball.
Heineken, bringing you in-depth analysis this Saturday. Win tickets to unmissable Investec Champions Cup games just by grabbing a pint of Heineken in over 200 pubs nationwide. Visit Heineken Ireland's Instagram to find your nearest participating pub. Over 18s only, drink responsibly, get the facts, be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
Are you applying for a first-time passport or renewing one? Whether it's for you or your child, the fastest and easiest way to do it is online at ireland.ie/passports. And if you find applying online challenging, the Passport Assist team is here to help. Call Passport Assist on 01613 1795 and talk to someone who can support you. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Treat yourself to Vodafone's best deals this Black Friday. Get the Google Pixel 10 for €0 when you switch to bill pay, or the Google Pixel 9a for only $199.99 on Pay As You Go. With Ireland's best mobile network 10 years in a row. Vodafone. Together we can.
Subject to availability. New customers on Pay As You Go or on any 24-month bill pay plan. Offer ends 6th of January 2026. Each April, the price of your plan will increase by €3.50 per month. Best in test Umlaut 2025. For certification and full terms, see vodafone.ie/terms.
Calling all heating engineers. Experience fast pump replacements with the new Grundfos Alpha range. The Alpha 1 Go and Alpha 2 Go are the only 2 pumps you need on the van for pre- and post-ERP integrated boiler pumps or standalone installations. Available from your local plumbing and heating merchants.
If you love amazing Christmas value, you'll love Aldi's festive frozen party food selection, including Southern Fried Chicken Bites, ready to spice up your table at just $1.99. Our Danish butter cookie tin takes the biscuit at just $2.99. And Budweiser 15 300ml bottle pack was €18, now only $15.50. If you love Christmas, you'll love Aldi. Get the facts, be drink aware, visit drinkaware.ie while stocks last.
It's flu season, and children are twice as likely as adults to catch the flu, which can sometimes cause serious illness. That's why all children aged 2 to 17 can get their free nasal spray flu vaccine. A safe and effective way to protect them, and the rest of your family too. So make an appointment with your GP or pharmacist. Visit hsc.ie/flu for more information. From the HSC.
Forest Fest returns for 2026, bringing you legendary acts and a modern boutique experience. Echo and the Bunnymen, Deacon Blue, the Charlatans, the Fratellis, Feeder, the Wonder Stuff, and much more to be announced. 24th to 26th of July at Beeswing Farm, Emo Village, County Laois. Early bird tickets on sale now from €80 for a single day and from €210 for a weekend ticket at forestfest.ie, subject to venue licence.
You've waited all year and now it's here. The unbelievable Black Friday sale at Easy Living Interiors. Featuring our biggest ever savings on sofas, dining sets, dreamy bedroom ranges and stunning accessories. But that's not all. Our VIP Christmas event has been extended, so you can still get an extra 20% off Christmas trees, baubles, ornaments and more in our Christmas department. This weekend only, the Black Friday sale at Easy Living Interiors. Cork, Dublin, Navan, Naas, Wexford, Waterford, Carlow, Drogheda and Dundalk. VIP sale ends Sunday.
Heineken, bringing you in-depth analysis this Saturday. Win tickets to unmissable Investec Champions Cup games just by grabbing a pint of Heineken in over 200 pubs nationwide. Visit Heineken Ireland's Instagram to find your nearest participating pub. Over 18s only, drink responsibly, get the facts, be drink aware. Visit drinkaware.ie.
On 106 to 108 FM, on the Newstalk app, powered by Gold Out, and Smart Speaker. This is Newstalk.
Good afternoon, I'm Breffney Clack. 3 people have been arrested following an incident at Shannon Airport this morning. Gardaí say a vehicle entered an unauthorised area of the airport. Laura Donnelly has this report.
This incident at Shannon Airport in County Clare happened at around 9:30 this morning. The vehicle was intercepted by Gardaí, Defence Forces and Airport Police. 2 men and 1 woman, all in their 20s, are being questioned at Garda stations in County Clare, where they can be held for up to 24 hours. Officers say the investigation is continuing.
4 people have been shot at a Christmas tree lighting ceremony in North Carolina. 3 of the victims are said to be critical, according to police in Concord. Officers were already at the event before the incident and were able to respond immediately. Republic of Ireland supporters look set for a scramble to secure tickets for next March's huge World Cup playoff semi-final away to the Czech Republic. Many fans have been left bemoaning the fact that the flight prices have more than tripled since the draw was made. Conor Pope, Consumer Affairs correspondent for the Irish Times, said there's been a huge jump in fares.
In essence, what happened is the draw took place on Thursday at around 12:20. At around 11 on Thursday morning, you could have flown to Prague on Thursday, March the 26th next, for around 30 or 40 quid. An hour later, the same ticket cost around 300 or 400 euro. And some of the flights were completely sold out at that price.
A yellow weather warning for rain has been issued for Donegal, Leitrim, Mayo and Sligo. It comes into effect at 9 o'clock tonight and will run until 9 o'clock tomorrow night. Met Éireann is warning of spot flooding and difficult travelling conditions. Meanwhile, a wind warning for Clare, Galway, Leitrim, Mayo and Sligo begins at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, with Wicklow coming under the same warning from 10 a.m. That's it for now. More in an hour.
Hiya. Listen, you weren't kidding about pet insurance. I should have got it. Just had Piper at the vet's. She ate what is turning out to be the most expensive bar of chocolate of all time. Don't worry, she's fine. My bank account? Not so much.
Real life. You write it. Allianz underwrite it. Protect your pet with 12% off new pet insurance policies at allianz.ie. Allianz PLC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Standard acceptance criteria and terms and conditions apply.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Want to give your in-laws this Christmas? Send them packing with a Ryanair gift card.
Dry with some bright or sunny spells as the day goes on and just some isolated showers. Highest temperatures 7 to 9 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Yeah, welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. Shane Hannon with you through until 5 p.m. It is Burnley 0, Chelsea 1, 71 minutes on the watch now at Turf Moor, and the early kick-off in the Premier League. Of course, a number of games to come at 3 o'clock as well, and we'll have Football Saturday after 3 between 3 and 5. Johnny Ward, Owen Doyle and Graham Gartland will be in studio with me, but for now we have Shane Byrne and Brent Pope still in studio looking ahead to Ireland versus South Africa, the world champions South Africa. 5:40 p.m. kick-off at the Aviva Stadium later on this evening. I suppose we get into the team news as well, lads. Andy Farrell made 4 changes to this starting lineup for this one from the game against Australia last week. So Gary Ringrose and Josh van der Flier recalled after missing the wins over Australia and Japan because of hamstring problems. Van der Flier returns to open side flanker, so Caelan Doris switches to number 8. Jack Conan drops to the bench. Ringrose partnered in midfield by Bundy Aki. He makes his first Ireland start since the Six Nations defeat by France back in March. Stuart McCluskey, of course, who started the win over Australia, was ruled out earlier in the week because of that groin injury. Robbie Henshaw, as we said, that was a hamstring injury. I know Jerry Thorney's been texting you, Shane, in the last 3 minutes to confirm that. So that means Tom Farrell gets that place on the bench. Andrew Porter returns at loosehead prop with Paddy McCarthy having been preferred against Australia. As we said, Sam Prendergast retained at fly half after impressing against Australia. Mac Hansen keeps the fullback spot after scoring that hat-trick against Australia as well. So it's an interesting Ireland team. I don't know, is Bundy Aki's inclusion? He probably has to
I think it's probably the strongest team he can select, isn't it? All those people coming back. I'm delighted Van der Flier comes back in because it allows Caelan to play in his rightful position. He's an incredible number 8. I think he's the best number 8 in the world playing rugby at the moment now. He offers, I know they'll say South Africa will say Jasper, but different types of players. Caelan is a kind of a Kieran Reid type player. He's a very intelligent player. He thinks his way around the field. For some reason, I don't know whether it's his running style or his physique, he just seems to glide through gaps and tackles. An incredible player. So when you put him with Van der Fleer, you've got the matchup from heaven against the South Africans, because you're probably matching the two best sets of loose forwards in one game up against each other. You've got you've got Peter Steph de Toit, who's probably been the world's best player for a couple of years, or one of them. And you've got Jasper Wiese, who's that old-fashioned sort of Buck Shelford type of heavy-set guy that just keeps going. And then you've got the captain, of course, Khaleesi, who has been subbed pretty early on. And
usually is
match,
so pretty early, yeah.
But what a captain. To see him on the sideline there, cheering the guys, not taking it anyway personally, not being bitter. He's all about the team, fantastic leader of men.
On and off the park.
Yeah.
He's probably the best captain, most influential captain out there at the moment.
Yeah.
He really is. He's fantastic.
Is Bundy Aki's inclusion, obviously he's still to rise to the heights maybe in this series, but is his inclusion partly protection for Sam Prendergast a little bit as well, maybe in the back of the mind?
Probably to add to the physicality, but listen, he made a couple of good runs in the Australian game, and I think the time he spent on the park, he did well, and I think that was really what everyone was watching for. And if you can't get up for this game, there's something up with you. You know what I mean? And so I think I wouldn't have any issues with Aki being there at all. And considering, there's been a few injuries there in the centre, so it's something. It's great for Farrell again. Dream of the November internationals to get another cap if he does come on. It's superb for him. But there's another one like Keane Prendergast. It's also great for him that his performances have got himself back on the bench again. To me, once here and now, what Jerry confirmed, there was very little debate about the starting team. Hansen in particular, having done what he did, what a debut at full back. It was fantastic, absolutely fantastic, and so much of it had him written all over it. It was just opportunistic and brilliant play, and so the rest of the team, and I suppose the only debate was then about the bench, and that kind of took care of itself. I think it's superb. As I said at the very start, I think we were very fortunate with the way the fixtures for this game were put out. Obviously, the first game in New Zealand was a bit hard, but it was perfect run up having Australia beforehand.
Yeah,
and it did the job. It got the cobwebs out of the system, and exactly what we needed. A good, strong performance with guys really getting going again in the green jersey. And we've heard all this week that Farrell has been, in particular, talking to individuals about their personal standards and everything like that, and grabbing the room. They've all mentioned, when he talks, everybody listens. But for them to say it, everyone this week, it means he's doing it quite a bit. He's making sure that their mindset is right, because if you're playing against South Africans, Brent will know, is that it's the mindset. It's all about the mindset. You know what I mean? Because you cannot take a step back. You have to meet this physical presence all the time, because that's the one way to put a little bit of doubt in their mind, and you have to be up for that for the full 80 minutes or however long you're on the park. So mindset is correct, and then obviously we've got to take care of the game plan and how we play the game and etc. But first and foremost, the great thing about this game, I literally would go after 5 minutes, you probably know how the game's going to go. First 5 minutes, if they're meeting and it's absolute war up there, this is going to be a good game. This is really going to be good. Where if, say, South Africa are getting over the gain line too easily, the contact collision area isn't as physical as it needs to be, it could turn into a very long day.
Yeah, and the atmosphere is important to that as well. I was given out at the start of the show about, even though the crowd seemed to like it, Sweet Caroline being used at breaks of play last week, which I associate with the English team maybe, and even in football as well. But
look,
let
anything that just gets the atmosphere going.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You have to.
Those games, and here's a bit of criticism. Sometimes the people that are going to the games now are going corporately.
Yeah,
and they don't really buy into the whole match. You've got people up in front of you get up and down and getting pizza slices and beers and looking at their phone to see what the Chelsea score is and that. And that's taken away a bit from the atmosphere. But I don't think today, I think that the rugby public has been waiting for this match more so than any other match, even more than Chicago, I think, because of what it means to both nations to be regarded as kind of number one in that year. Now, if Ireland beat South Africa today and beat them decently, then people are going to come back and say, okay, well, who's the top team this year? Despite Ireland losing to New Zealand in Chicago, because they'll turn around and say, well, look, we were just gearing up for this match or whatever.
But that's South Africa saying that this game is defining their season.
Yeah, it defines their season because they can't go away and say they've had a great season if they lose this match. And that's why I think they'll be really up for it. And I think you're right. I think the first 5 minutes will be very telling. My worry for Ireland is this. We probably know that they're not going to have the same impact that South Africa have off the bench. I think that is the one place that they've really risen above any other team.
Bomb squad.
You know, the bomb squad, now the POM squad in England. So that's what I said before when I started talking that it's a 23-man now. When you can bring Ardy off the bench at 6'8" or whatever, you know, bring him off the bench for God's sake. Like, this guy would be selected in any other international, and you can leave guys like Motson and that out.
Yep.
He's also developed these hybrid players, and I think that's where the game is going, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But, you know, the who's the hybrid forward come back?
Went in centre.
Yeah, wing centre. 6'4", 108 kgs. You've got Quagga Smith, who could play on the wing if he had to, sevens player. And I think that's, you know, Rassie gets a lot of criticism for thinking outside the box when he should be applauded. Like, even when he came up with the bomb squad, when originally people were all saying around the world, this is ridiculous to be bringing on a whole new front row. Now every team's doing it in the world.
Yeah.
You know,
No, but like what he did, I don't think there's any criticism at all, because what he did is he utilised the strengths that they have. And they have plenty of big, beefy, strong men.
Oh no,
he just became, you know, he used that and utilised it brilliantly.
Absolutely. So I agree. I think he did. I mean, what people are saying, oh, it enforces more injuries, and that was an argument for another time. How could he be criticised for looking at his team and saying that's where our strengths are and that's where we're going to play to it? Every other nation in the world would like that. I know the problem in New Zealand rugby is they just can't get big men anymore in the game. You know, there's the players, even they envy, when I talk to some of my New Zealand friends, they even look at guys like Beard and they think, oh God, we wish we had one of those players playing out for Waikato or the Highlanders or whatever like that. They just don't have them because they've all gone off to Frizzell and Kaino, and these guys all left the shores years ago. But they're desperately in need of what South Africa produces every week. I mean, you see the size of those guys in the photo or the video, something. God, I mean, the front row, I mean, they're huge.
Yeah.
You know.
But it's also a recipe from the game. Now, this is taking a different tangent. If the ball was in play more and we had stopped having these huge delays, that we could, you know, there'd be more fatigue coming into the game.
Yeah.
And Rassie, if he was only replacing forwards, okay, that's great. But his backs would get fatigued as well, you know. And whereas the mix would make a difference then. But because there's so many flipping breaks now,
Sweet Caroline breaks,
big old discussions, it's like, here, come on, you know. Good old TMOs, as they want to be the most important people. I think we should certainly take them off the screen, leave them anonymous, because the minute that they are now shown, they feel like they have to be so important.
Some of them have to go to the end of the. You see them running up to the end of the pitch to see a little monitor under a bit of black Velcro or something like that. Then they ask the two TMOs, "Do you agree with this? Do you agree with that?" God, I mean, it's like a committee meeting
I'm
beside
just looking
another
today,
meeting.
The foul play review officer today is Dan Jones from the RFU. He's the same official that upgraded Tyke Byrne's yellow card to that 20-minute red in the All Blacks game. You know, so
that's insane. You know what needs to happen with stuff like that is that when a red card is rescinded, there should be a process where whoever the TMO was involved misses a few games and has to go back to a course, something like that. Because it's absolutely ridiculous. Because, like, you know, things like that are so obvious, and for them to be taken to a different degree. Like, yes, you can't take away the importance of the authority figure, the referee, and the disciplinary structure around everybody in control of the game. You can't take that away. But there has to be some sort of repercussion for making an absolute balls out of a decision.
A ref has a gut feeling about something. Has a gut feeling right on the field. Always used to be the way before TMOs ever existed.
Yeah.
So you have a gut feeling. why then don't you just say yellow card? In my opinion, let them go off the field, let them get reviewed in the private time, and if they've got to come back on 2 minutes, 3 minutes time, and say it's not a red card, it remains a yellow, or even if it remained a penalty, they're not making decisions on the hoof. They're waiting. They're going back to 3 or 4 people who all agree with them. You know, I've never once seen a TMO on the sideline say, actually, I disagree with you. You know, it's all, do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Then they go on screen to them. There's 3. It's a committee meeting to make a decision that we all know out there. Look, that's a yellow card. You know,
it's the same in football. As soon as the referee is sent over to the TMO or the VAR, you know he's going to change his mind or go with whatever the VAR have suggested. Yeah, it's a strange one. And South Africa, another assistant coach was kind of chatting during the week, saying we're not getting the look of with officials, we're not getting the decisions. They're obviously trying to get in the mind of the officials before this game as well.
They are, and like there has been a couple of harsh decisions, a couple of correct decisions. There's no doubt about it. They do, particularly because they're all big men. There are quite a few scenarios where big man hits small man. Unfortunately, it's really hard to hit him in the right way, and but they have to. That has to be preying on their mind as well, because like it definitely isn't going their way now. And regardless of anything, nothing has changed. The refereeing still has the same instructions. So if they're not adjusting, and we've seen there's videos out of during the week of them hitting pads low and everything like that. That I think that's a ticky box what they were doing there. Like, look at what we're doing. But the simple fact is it's there. It's something that they have to think of, and like there's going to be loads of height discrepancies when they come against Ireland as well.
The ones the one part of the game that I find quite frustrating around the rules, we have a lot of them around that, is when does it become a competition in the air and when doesn't it not? Because we're getting players now that are coming up and just throwing an arm out there, in the hope that they catch the ball somewhere. They're not really going for the ball at all in the air. And it seems to be favouring the side that has the one-handed guy flailing around in the wind or whatever, hitting the ball back, rather than the old skills of going up for the ball, taking it on your own without being impeded coming to ground. So they've got to get that right, I think, because sometimes it's an unfair competition. Sometimes it favours the I suppose the guy that's prepared to not go into the air looking for the ball. It seems to be favouring them a lot, but that'll also play a key role today in the aerial play.
Yeah,
as we know, Prendergast is a pretty good kicker, and South Africa usually despite their size, they're small enough back three, they're pretty good in the air.
Yeah.
I think that's why...
timing is excellent.
Yeah. And I'm delighted Mac Hansen, one, because he's, every team needs a character like that. But I think, we're starting to see a few combinations. Again, looking forward to the World Cup. You're starting to look at guys that'll be young enough and could play in back three positions, fullback now, if something happened to Hugo Keenan in the next couple of years, or if he doesn't come back the same player. So we're getting a few options in there, and I would just like to see a couple of places with a bit more depth vis-a-vis the centres, and probably who's your third and fourth scrum half, probably a couple of positions in the forwards. I'm always looking further down the track.
Of course, yeah. If we look to half 7 this evening, lads, and say at the end of the game, Ireland have beaten South Africa, and it's been a really tough game, 15 versus 15. But this is the thing, will the hype train will leave the station and pick up more and more ahead of the Six Nations? Is that, like, not to rain on Parade or be fun police, but is it, like, could that be a bad thing in any sense? Like, obviously we're still a couple of years out from a World Cup. You want a bit of hype about a team, I suppose.
No, we're well over that now at this stage. We've been in the top 4 for the last decade.
Yes,
you would say.
You're right.
Like, we're well past going into Six Nations favourites, because we've been thereabouts every year for a long, long time. So, like, if we do manage to have a fantastic result today, we're sure, the hell with it, go for it.
Exactly.
Because at the moment, you would say the momentum is with England. They're looking very, very sharp at the moment. It'd be interesting to see how they go against Argentina. But
they could lose that match.
Yeah, I know. But that's right now. That's, you would say that the momentum is with them at the moment.
Exactly. I mean, across the world, that'd be a fair team if they keep the development going. But I think she's right. You just take it. Ireland is still going to go into next year's Six. The Six Nations over maybe the last decade have really been a 3-horse race. Let's face it. Not belittling Scotland, Wales and Italy, but Italy are never going to win it realistically. Wales, of course, their lowest ebb. Scotland can knock off a couple of things, but they're not consistent enough to really challenge. They'll knock off England in a given year. But so it comes down to a 3-horse race every year, and it's harder when you're away from home, as we know, but that's just the way it's always been. So Ireland, Shane is right, Ireland have been into the last Six Nations as co-favourite, or certainly someone that could win it or win a Grand Slam, But so I think, my thoughts are on this, I think that we would sacrifice something in next year's Six Nations to get to a semi-final or final of the World Cup, and there's realistically only 5 teams I think now could win the next World Cup, maybe 6 if you included Argentina.
Brent, I disagree for a different reason.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing to do, to be able to do that. But we're a really small union, and we need the money. And placing in the Six Nations is really important.
Yeah.
And that's why we've never really done a proper World Cup cycle, which would take in 2 Six Nations minimum and be building towards a World Cup, because we can't. We need every single step up that league table is so important for the income that the IRFU needs to do it. And that's why the focus, unfortunately,
you
is
make a point,
all out Six Nations.
And
then we'll see how we go. And that's just the way it is.
But listen, the financial thing.
and the one thing about it is, listen, the reasons we've lost quarterfinals over the years has had nothing to do with the quality on the pitch.
No.
It's become a major hoodoo.
Psychological thing.
Could we sell a few
it's
raffles?
massive.
Could we sell a few raffle tickets? Support the Irish Rugby team.
Well,
I'll go out and sell a few tickets for a couple of hampers or whatever,
I was just reading Kevin Potts during the week, obviously saying the IRFU had a deficit of 4.2 million.
Well, there you go. I take it all back.
31st July 2025, but they still say they're in a robust financial position, cash and investments of 62.6 million, no debt, and net assets of 81.6 million. People are giving out, it's €160, I think, for the Category A ticket for today. But Kevin Potts made the point, look, it's the commercial reality at the moment, and there is the corporate side of it as well.
Rugby has become popular now that we need a stadium like Croke Park.
Yeah.
And we don't. And we won't have for... It would be great to see the low ends, terraced ends filled in, but that'll take a long, long time for that if it ever happens at the Aviva. Like, the Aviva is a small stadium. It really is. And rugby, if you were in a bigger stadium, you'd have more opportunity to fill it, keep the prices down. And the problem as well is that the IRFU, because of the corporate demands, have reduced the amount of tickets that clubs get. And clubs generate money from those tickets. And now they have less tickets, but they still need to generate the same money.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, they're going to corporates as well. So it's getting lost.
Yeah.
And so that means grassroots, honest rugby supporters.
I know.
Less of them are getting their hands on the tickets.
It's a real worry, because that's what happened effectively in New Zealand rugby. I think when you become top heavy financially, I get it. You've got to look after the team, but it does have catastrophic effects for the players playing on grassroots levels. Like, there's clubs around the country struggling to survive. They really are. So where does the next players come from if they don't come from the academies? Because very few of them are coming through the club system now. And that happened in New Zealand rugby a few years ago, and it really was the start of a kind of a demise where players suddenly got 1 or 2 caps and headed off to Japan or France and that for the lucrative deals. I get it. They've got to look after themselves and their families. But it really left New Zealand grassroots game at a low ebb, and that's taken them years. I don't know whether they'll ever get back to a situation where they're promoting the game, because it's all going to the top.
It is the one flaw in the amazing steps we made. Like, obviously we resisted professionalism when we came in,
and you become the
then we
blueprint
lost
for success.
Argentina in '99, and then the strides we made after that were fantastic.
Yeah.
But the one thing that got left behind was the club structure.
Yeah.
Like, initially it used to be that if players professionally didn't have a game at the weekend, they would go back to their club.
Yeah.
So there was a constant interaction between the professional game and the club structure, and which drew crowds and drew people, because you could have a guy coming back from injury and he'd go play a few
for
games.
Greystones or something
And,
in the AL.
and then you would see that. And unfortunately, I think that's a major loss. I think that was one of the things that I'd love to see reintroduced again.
Me too.
Is the involvement as a propping up the clubs as well, because like, if you know somebody who's coming back from injury, who's a real shining star or somebody on the way up, that'll draw more people to the game,
Yeah.
and particularly the younger lads, so that it's not the difference between the amateur and professional physically. I think, particularly academy guys coming up that become professional trainers as opposed to playing, anyway, look, to me, that's something that I feel got left behind in the professional game.
I think you're right. I think there's too many young players in various academies not getting game time. If I was a young player playing for the real reasons you take up sport is for the enjoyment of a factor, I wouldn't want to sit around for 2 years, lifting weights and going for jogs and not having regular games, because I love the game and I love to play it that way. So once it became a money situation, then you had players saying, look, I'm not going to go to Munster, I'm not going to go to Connacht, I'm not going to go to these academies because I'm quite happy here in Leinster having 1 or 2 B matches a year, and that's just the way it's going to roll. But I think you play the long-term price for that sort of thing. I don't know what you do about it, but it's just it is a shame that the grassroots feel stripped.
And further to the point of the grassroots tickets as well, you're going to have less people clambering over you with the pints and the grub if you have grassroots tickets instead of the corporate tickets.
So if anybody wants to call in right now and say they have a spare ticket to go to Mr. Pope, well, I'll take it off your hands.
Brent Pope's
unburden them.
Yeah, well, you get them, but everybody keeps coming because they think you work at a bit like you, Shane. They think because you work in the media, you've done some work in the media. Oh, you must have 3 or 4 tickets for the match.
It's not
no,
the reality.
I do not.
No,
I do not.
It's not how it works.
No.
Yeah, if you have 160 quid lying around, you might take a category A ticket for sure. Can I ask you lads about Jack Nienaber as well, because he's come into the conversation during the week as well. I think he did an interview with SuperSport, the South African broadcaster, and said essentially, I missed the Springboks. Certainly didn't rule out or close the door on returning to the Springboks after. I think his contract runs till the end of the 2026 to 27 season with Leinster, and obviously Ireland would love to have him heading into that World Cup phase, and all the inside information he has on Leinster, and as a result Ireland would be a dangerous thing to send back to the Springboks, surely, or England, wherever he would go.
Yes and no. Like, there's the interaction between particularly Ireland and South Africa has been pretty large in the last while as well.
Got Felix Jones, Flannery,
but I think Nienaber's future will be, like, if there's Leinster success this year, that debate will go away. He was right. Like, there's been critiques of it, obviously, because the concentration went on defence as opposed to so much on attack. But they looked at it that they lost 3 finals because of defence, and so they needed to plug that gap. And it's not to sacrifice one from the other. So if success comes this season in particular for them, I think that whole debate about going back, I think there'd be a contract extension, and then we don't need to be concerned about the knowledge going back there.
They need the success, don't they?
They do. They do. Yeah.
They do. And I think Shane's right. I think that conversation will go away because he'd sign in for another few years. So I don't think that might be a discussion point if they were to perform badly in the competitions, but they're going to get to another final, semi-final at least. So. We said that before about Leinster, but no. If not now, when? You would have to think.
Yeah, absolutely. Prediction time, lads. So South Africa haven't beaten Ireland in Dublin since 2012. A few results. I was even looking at the 2017. You forget there was 38 points to 3.
I know.
It was kind of the kickstart of what South Africa did thereafter. John de Villiers was on during the week, and he was kind of saying that 2019 World Cup win for South Africa kind of came ahead of the curve, ahead of where they thought they were going to be, and 2023 was the one where they really felt they'd arrived and reached where they wanted to be. Stephen Kitsoff, we spoke to him yesterday morning and after the breakfast, and he said 12-point win for the Springboks later on today. I think the bookmakers have it roughly 7 or 8 points. Shane first. How do you see it going?
I wouldn't agree with either of them.
Okay.
I don't think the gap will be that big.
Right.
Because, like, in the last few games, it certainly hasn't been. And I really do think Ireland are up for this. Look, South Africa should win this game. All the stats running into this, everything, the form, everything should be that, but that doesn't mean that they will. And of all the teams that they're playing, I think Ireland are the only side who could beat them. And I think it's all about how we start. I think the preparation we've had has been as good as it could possibly be in these November internationals. and to get us right for this game. And I think the team are up for it. I think the word coming out of it that Farrell is talking to a lot of the leaders and making sure that they're on their game, so that they're going to lead by example on the pitch and getting the mentality correct. And I sneaky suspicion it's going to be good. It'll be narrow as hell, but I think it's going to be Ireland's day.
Okay, Ireland by a couple potentially, says Shane Byrne. Brent?
Yeah, I think I'd have to say, look, if you were betting your mortgage on it, the old cliche, you wouldn't know where to go, really. It's that tight as I see it. I certainly don't see it a 12-pointer, although it could be, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I know that's a stupid thing to say, but I think there's something special coming from this Irish team today. I really do. I just kind of, I sort of feel it. I think there might be an upset. So I'm going to stick my head above the kind of the ledge and say that Ireland by 3.
Okay. I was hoping you were going to say Ireland by 12 there. Just
Oh, no, I don't think
Yeah.
that could be realistic. But again...
But you wouldn't have said we beat Australia by 27 points.
No way.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah,
no, again,
no
they
way.
could.
Yeah.
And like, there's an awful lot of pressure on South Africa.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because it's them who haven't won here. They've gone around the world, they're double world champions, they've beaten everybody, but here they haven't.
Yeah.
True. And like the pressure's on them, and if the longer we're in this game being competitive or with our nose in front, the pressure's going to be on them as well. You know what I mean? Here
Well,
we
if
go
you didn't
again.
know anything about the games, an old-fashioned stage, what you used to do as a player, you used to go through the team sheet and look at the sizes of players, which they always exaggerated when you read and you would work out, if we were picking a team, how many of them would play for us, how many of us would play for them. And I remember them doing an exercise with English rugby, and I think Jason Leonard said, well, we'll take Lomu for a start, when they were playing. But if you looked at that and you were completely unbiased and you looked at the fact that Ireland had the record and they're at home, you'd be swayed to Ireland if you didn't know anything about South Africans' background. If you just looked them coming, if I went to you and said, there's the team sheet, there's the World Player of the Year,
There's the history,
last couple of
yeah.
years, here's the history,
Yeah.
you would favour Ireland. I know it doesn't go that way and it's not as, I suppose, as methodical as that or as... But I think that something special is going to happen today. I wish I was going. That person hasn't called in yet. I really do, because I think it's going to be a cracker.
Okay. Whoever has a ticket for Brent Pope, you meet him on Lansdowne Road later
Well,
on.
you have to get out of the sauna you've got here.
Yeah, exactly.
For those
Heart
people that
rate
hear,
going,
there's work going on in News Talk, and it is like a sauna.
Yeah.
Just wanted to keep the lads on their toes this afternoon.
Well, I've
Not that
lost
you wouldn't
6
be already.
kg since I've been in here, which is good.
Well, you both look great, I have to say. Lads, thanks a million for coming in. You've
Thanks very much, Shane.
Certainly.
No worries. Really enjoyed it.
Shane Byrne and Brent Pope, really appreciate you coming in. And 5:40, as we said, is the kickoff time at the Aviva Stadium for Ireland versus South Africa. Get your predictions into us on the WhatsApp as well. If you want to get in touch, 0879 180 180. And it's loads still to come between 3 and 5 football Saturday. And up next, we'll hear from the two camps, Ireland and South Africa, ahead of the big game later on. Stay with us.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball. Moncrief.
I have an hour-long commute on the bus to work every morning. I actually love this time because I read my book, listen to the radio or watch Netflix. However, an old acquaintance from college recently moved to our area. He takes the bus at the same time as me every morning. He insists on sitting next to me and chatting for the entirety of the journey. How do I get out of this soul-sapping situation?
As somebody who's experienced this kind of stuff, I think the only solution to this is that you're going to have to fake your own death. That's the end.
Moncrief. Weekdays at 2 p.m. on News Talk. Conversation that counts.
PTSB has Ireland's lowest rate for personal loan.